this is what I'm bringing with me on the next expedition. These are the items I've put in my expedition vault, and I'm going to explain exactly why. I've given this a lot of thought, and I'm really happy about my decision. Before I go into it, I'd love to know what you're bringing in your expedition vault and why. I think it's going to be really interesting theory crafting the best possible items for this thing. But I'm going to explain why I've gone for these things in particular. I'm also going to explain how you can find these things in case you want to try and do something similar, because we're going to need an extra blueprint to fill our vault, right? And the number one being the survivor. So we'll start there. The survivor blueprint is a no-brainer. It's one of the rarest augment blueprints in the game, and it's also the most valuable, both for PvP and PvE. With it having 3 safe pockets and a large amount of space and medium shield, it's already pretty powerful, right? And then you got the fact that if you get knocked down, you can crawl to the hatch and escape, which is really, really powerful, especially on PvE lobbies. I don't think I need to tell anyone this. It's a no-brainer to put this in the expedition vault. Now, I've been farming augment blueprints for a long time, so I know the best way to get this. Let's talk about augment blueprint spawns first. You're going to see a lot of the same augments over again. You're going to see the revival, you're going to see the flanking, and you're going to see the defensive augment blueprints a lot more. All of these blueprints have specific drop rates. It's hard to say specifically what they are, but things like the defensive and the revival are really common, as well as the flanking. Ones like the new smoke augment here, and of course the safekeeper and the survivor are rarer. So even when you get an augment blueprint drop from an augment blueprint container, you might get unlucky and it'll end up being one of the other ones. So the best thing you can do is loot the places that have augment blueprints a lot of times, and eventually you'll get lucky. My best experience these days is in Bluegate. I've always been a fan of Stella Montis, but I don't know what it is about it. Recently, I've had the most amount of luck just going back to the security wing, that breachable room in the underground. I would say most of the time, I'm getting an augment blueprint there. It's really crazy how high the drop rate is. In fact, let's see how many times it takes for me to get it now, just to prove how crazy it is. What we'll do, we will go like this, put adrenaline shots in our safe pocket, and then we'll run straight to Bluegate. This is my first run on a raid, but the juice really is in this area. So we're going to just run straight here. Now, bearing in mind, this is run number 1. So we're going to just tap all of these. If we see more than one item, I usually double check. But because there's another player here, I will open all of the containers first. Okay, there's one blueprint. So as you can see, pretty high chance of getting a blueprint. We got one that time. And we also want to go upstairs. This is another spot a lot of people miss out on. There's a potential of 3 more augment containers up here that can also spawn augments. Then, these are medical style containers, which can also spawn augment blueprints, which a lot of people seem to forget. Who did get a blueprint that time? But it was, of course, a light stick. That is one of the blueprints that can spawn inside that container. So we're going to go again. This is second run now. We can go up this way. Looks like someone beat us to it this time, but we might be able to get in there and get some containers. Oh, there we go. So we got an aggressive that time. So that's how you're going to get your augment blueprints. That's the best method. Obviously, the survivor and safekeeper specifically are quite a rare drop within that augment blueprint loot pool. So you may have to do it quite a few times before you get lucky. That's the main strategy. Anyway, so we've talked about the survivor augment blueprint so far. The next item I've got is the safekeeper augment itself. And there's a couple reasons why I've done this, and I'll explain those in a minute. Not the blueprint, by the way, the augment itself. Now, I'm going to mostly be in PvE lobbies. That's my hope once this expedition goes. So my plan is to try and speedrun the workbenches as quickly as possible. One of the things that are going to slow you down the most in progressing your account and getting back to kind of where your account was before is having a workbenches ready to go. So you can, you can craft everything you need in terms of weapons, whether it's like a renegade early on, or you need to get things refined like advanced mechanical components. All that stuff needs your workbenches fully upgraded. That's going to be the major thing slowing you down, besides blueprints, of course. Now, there are 2 bottlenecks that appear when you're trying to upgrade these workbenches early on. I've actually made this little thing on my blue blueprint spreadsheet. I'll put a link in the description for this. It just kind of gives you an idea of what items you're going to need to look for the workbench upgrades. The two things that are going to slow you down when you're doing your workbenches after a new expedition is the carry weight and carry capacity on your augment, and also the main thing, fighting the arc, the large arc parts. So, for example, you need 6 bastion cells, 5 surveyor vaults, 6 bombardier cells, 4 leaper pulse units, 3 rocketeer drivers. Having a safekeeper augment straight off the drop is going to allow me to speed up a lot of this. Firstly, it has a max loadout weight of 65, which is more than the Looting Mark II of 60. It can also use a medium shield, which the Looting Mark II can't. If you just started a fresh wipe, you can buy 1 Looting Mark II from Lance for 6,000, right? And I'm probably going to use that too, honestly. I'm probably going to use the Looting Mark II to begin with to farm the base materials like rusted tools, rusted gears, motors. For example, you can see here I need mechanical components, rusted tools, rusted gears, power cables, cracked bioscanners, all of those sort of lootable items. I'm going to use the Looting Mark II with Lance. However, once I need a little bit more carry weight to get the arc parts, I'm then going to use the Safekeeper augment that I have been saving. Now, with the first few rounds of me running around looting, I should hopefully be able to keep my matchmaking rating fairly PvE friendly. So there should be minimal risk bringing this in. There's the chance that I will die. And that's why I've gone for the Safekeeper specifically instead of the Survivor augment. Obviously, the Safekeeper has less carry weight and space than the Survivor. But I've gone for the Safekeeper because I'm bringing a Jupiter, an actual Jupiter with me on the expedition. One of the things that really slowed me down last time, and I sped run it within like 5 or 6 hours. I got all of the parts within like a couple hours, but then trying to fight the arc and fight to get the arc parts, the bombardier cells, the leaper pulse units, the rocketeer drivers, all of that stuff became pretty difficult because I was using an anvil or a renegade, basically the stuff that you can buy from Tianwen, but I couldn't really upgrade them fully yet. I had grenades. I had to use light impact grenades. It was just a little bit, it was slow. It took a long time, right? Now, if I just go in immediately with a Jupiter, then killing all of the arc for the upgrades is going to be really, really quick. And the good thing about the Jupiter is you can basically get the energy clip from the harvester for free. So, you know, whenever there's a harvester available, this one's a matriarch, but you get the idea. You just run into the harvester, you loot the containers. You don't even have to do the puzzle, and you stick some energy clips in your safe pocket on like a Looting Mark I, and then you've got ammo to go and fight the arc with. And then my plan is I will go in, I'll fight the arc. Hopefully I won't die, but if things get a little bit dicey, maybe somebody tries to rat me, I will stick the Jupiter in my safe pocket on the Safekeeper, so I've got another chance to use it again if things don't go my way. So that's why I've gone for those two, right? The Safekeeper is just going to give me another augment to use early game. I was on the fence about bringing a Survivor augment itself in place of this, but I've decided to go for the Safekeeper because I want to bring the Jupiter and use that super early game to be able to unlock my benches as quickly as possible. The next two things I've brought in are the heavy guns blueprint and the patina blueprint. The patina, in my opinion, is the most versatile weapon you can use as a PvE player. It's just so good now. It's really quick at taking down all of the arc, and you can also use it to hold your own against any potential rats, to be honest. It's not terrible in PvP nowadays, and it's pretty easy to craft in comparison to other epic weapons. You only need 3 canisters, 3 advanced mechanicals, and 3 heavy gun parts. Now, obviously, we're going to need a gun parts blueprint. Both of these can end up being pretty rare. It's not that the blueprint type is rare itself. These are Raider-style blueprints, but because there's such a large number of these blueprints, the chance that you could roll onto these two specifically when you're starting a new raid can be pretty difficult. Let me explain what I mean. If I go to the workshop page, let's count how many blueprints all share the same blueprint loot pool. Medium gun parts, that's 1. Torrente, that's 2. Osprey, that's 3. Light gun parts, that's 4. El Toro, that's 5. Heavy gun parts, that's 6. Patina, that's 7. Venator, that's 8. And then we also have the Anvil as well, which is number 9. Now, look, I've been playing this entire time and I still haven't got the Anvil blueprint. How crazy is that? Because there are 9 different blueprints that can drop from this loot pool, right? The chance that you get the one that you're looking for sometimes just seems really low. Now, I'm sure a lot of you be thinking about putting the anvil in place of the patina, right? It's less ammo hungry. It might be more useful early game. But here's the thing. The anvil spawns everywhere. Not only can you buy 3 anvils per day from Tianwen, they also appear in weapon cases very, very commonly. So getting your hands on anvils is really easy. In fact, I've always got an anvil ready to go, even though I don't have an anvil blueprint, because they're that easy to find. The anvil blueprint just isn't really that necessary, in my opinion, to bring over, because you really don't need to craft the anvil in the first place. The patina doesn't really spawn very often as a gun until you've got the security breach skill, and that won't be until very later on in the expedition, once you're level 75. So those two together are pretty good, right? I want to be able to use the patina as soon as I can early game. I'm going to bring out this Jupiter and the Safekeeper to essentially finish my workbenches, and then I'll farm arc and go on loot runs with my Survivor blueprint as soon as I've got Bench 3 unlocked. So as soon as I've got Bench 3, I'm going to be able to just get a bunch of loot coming in really early game. I'll be able to farm up some money. I'll be able to upgrade my stash space a lot quicker than last time. And before you know it, I'll be back to where I was just before the expedition ended. So that's why, right? I've got the Survivor Augment blueprint for once all of my workbenches are done. I've got the Safekeeper Augment and Jupiter itself for farming the arc parts in the workbench. And also, I've got the heavy gun parts and patina blueprint for as soon as I've got Gunsmith 3 done, because they're just really good farming weapons. Now, I see a lot of people bringing things like the Seeker Grenade blueprint or the Deadline, but these two are just so common on Stella Montis that I just can't see myself doing it. At the end of the day, some of these blueprints are a lot more common than others. And while some of them have a lot of value, like the Seeker blueprint is really valuable, I know I can find this within a few raids of doing Stella Montis, which is what I'm going to be doing anyway, just to find the rusted tools and rusted gear I need to upgrade my benches. So that's a look at what I've put in my expedition vault. I'd love to know what your opinion is on what you're going to put in yours. I think it's a really fun part of the game. This kind of theory crafting makes me pretty excited for the next expedition. Let me know, and I'll see you in the comments. Cheerio.